Hello guys, welcome to this spooky Halloween edition episode. So things are gonna be a little different this week. Don't do that laugh line. You get the idea. So this week is a little bit spookier because we're going to be talking about the Black-Eyed Kids. Now, if you don't know what the Black-Eyed Kids are, it's a myth or a legend, or maybe it's truth, I don't know, you tell me, about these children that come to your front door or they come to your car door or anything like that, but they're demanding access. They want to use your phone. They want to get in to use your bathroom or something like that, I don't know. But the young kids are under the age of like 15 or something like that, and they're always seem really sweet to begin with, but if you deny them access, they become a little hostile. And in this story I'm about to read you, that's exactly what happens. It almost felt like a dream. I woke up to my dog Lucy barking. She was upright on the bed where my husband and I were sleeping with our 22-month-old daughter. Staring at our door like an unknown stranger was there, rummaging outside. I thought she was just freaking out over a house noise. We'd only had her for 3 months, and she was still a puppy. It could have been anything. Our roommate, a creak from the house settling, the awning moving outside in the breeze. Wasn't too concerned initially. Big mistake. I decided the best bet would be to open the door, no honey, and show her nothing was there. It sounds a bit silly, but it's what we do with our daughter when she gets scared, and I figured it would work with a puppy too, because dogs and children are the same thing. I opened the door and she raced to the front. She stood there, snarling at the door. It was an angry, violent growl. One I had never heard her make before. I looked groggily at her and opened the baby gate, blocking the doorway, planning to open the door and show her everything was okay. The second my hand reached for the doorbell, Lucy went wild. She started barking and jumping towards me, and when I touched the metal, she suddenly changed her demeanor. She whimpered, almost like she was afraid and backing down. As her mannerism changed, so did mine. I wasn't calm anymore. My heart was racing and sinking at the same time. I had been flooded with a mixture of fear and dread. I looked through the peephole. I can't explain why I looked, but I did. Outside were 2 kids. One was just a smidgen shorter than me. Just a smidgen! And didn't look much younger. I'm 21 and she looked to be 16 or 17. She was slender and pale. Her hair was a light shade of honey blonde, and she wore it long, about mid-back, with long, thin, blunt bangs in the front that covered most of her eyes. She wore jeans, a light wash, that were popular right now, and a thin-looking olive-colored pullover-style hoodie, just, to be fashionable. She held the hand of a small girl, who looked to be around 3 or 4, in the same style jeans with a button-down ivory cardigan. The smaller one looked at the floor shyly, but had the same shade of hair, tied back in a ponytail. She held a stuffed toy under her free arm, and was identical to the one my daughter has. Completely irrelevant to the story, by the way. Had it not been for the feeling of overwhelming dread and fear, I probably would have let them in and offered them tea or coffee to get them out of the bitter cold. Because, she's an old woman in the middle of the woods. Something about them seemed off. I hadn't shushed the dog or grumbled, nothing. I hadn't turned any lights on. These kids had no indication I was at the door. Then the older one spoke. She had a voice that was mature, confident, strong, and accentless. She held her head tilted downwards, and I couldn't see her eyes. She said,
"We have to use your phone."
I stood frozen in fear. How did she know I was there? She raised her head to face me directly, and that was when I saw her eyes. There was a reason I couldn't see them through her bangs before. They were black, or midnight blue, or a dark purple. That's right, it was dark purple. As someone who has always been interested in creepy stories, I knew what she was the second I looked at her. I've never been one to believe in these things as a staunch atheist and skeptic. When it comes to the paranormal, I had written off many ghost stories from friends and family members eager to tell their tales. I didn't believe it. Still, I couldn't rationalize my way out of this. I was standing with nothing but a thin wood between me and a black-eyed kid. There was no questioning what was right in front of me. I did not answer. Slowly and silently, I backed away from the door. Lucy still cowering at my ankles. She kept talking.
"Just let us in to use your phone.
I took another step back, and with that step, the tone changed. At first, she seemed polite. When I took that second step back, she seemed commanding and almost hostile.
We're not going to hurt you. If we wanted that, we would have just broken in. I'll ask again. May we come in and use your phone?
Lucy snarled at the door, and I inched backwards. Though something inside me seemed to slowly pull me back towards the door. It wasn't a physical pulling, so much as an subconscious need to go back and let them in. I got to my room, covered the window, locked the door, and sat there in the dim light of the nightlight. I heard her call me back to the door once more, and then quiet. I didn't go back to sleep that night. I haven't slept right since. I know from reading about the black-eyed kids that they can't come in without permission. I know they don't hurt anyone, but I still fear I'll be the exception. When I told my husband, he said it was just a dream. He keeps telling me to forget it, but this lingering fear of sadness, this dread when the house is silent at night, this fear of the knocking at the door, that tells me otherwise. Okay, well, so I have one other I want to read before I want to just give my thoughts on this topic. I hope you're enjoying this so far. Wait, go back to the spooky lighting. On March 17, 2008, I had my one and only experience with a black-eyed kid. Before my experience, I had never heard of anything having to do with black-eyed kids. I was 12, I was sitting outside of a hairdresser's in an old Chevy pickup waiting for my mum to get her haircut. About 15 minutes had passed and I saw some kid walking back and forth along the sidewalk in front of my parked car. At first, I thought I recognized him as some friend from school, so I banged on the front windscreen until he looked my way. It was no one I knew. At this point, I was not scared at all, not yet. The boy walked over to the side of my car and just stared. I looked into his eyes, and let me tell you, if you have never seen a black-eyed kid, you have no idea what to imagine. Pupils, black as the night sky. The boy whispered,
You must let me in.
and then I locked the car doors and ducked down into the space below the seats. 5 minutes later, he was gone. When my mother got into the car, she told me a boy with black eyes had come into the hairdresser, had insisted for my mother to give him the keys to the car. She refused. Thank God she did. Why wouldn't she refuse? So here's my thought about the black-eyed kids. Okay, if I'm like the devil, right, and I'm creating all these demons, the last thing I'm gonna do is say, okay, I'm gonna invent this demon that can go in and freak mortals out, but, you know, they have to ask for permission. If they don't get permission, they can't do anything. Like, that's not a good demon. Like, I know vampires do that, but vampires are really flawed. But the black-eyed children, like, they're spooky. Don't get me wrong. They're spooky. But they're not very effective. Now, there was a story that I read once before, and, like, there's not too many stories about what happens when people let in, because not a lot of people are idiots and let frickin' children with black eyes into their house. But there is a story where someone does let them in, and when they let them in, all of these, they don't do anything to them except, like, really freak them out. But they're just like, we have to come in and use our phone, we need to call our parents. They come in, they never use the phone, by the way. And for whatever reason, they just kind of are creepy around the house, and then all the lights turn out, and it's all really spooky, and then they just say, we have to go, our parents are here. And then they walk out and walk into, like, a black van. But it's what follows after that that's weird. The husband that let them in, he dies of cancer. Their marriage breaks down before he dies. They lose the house because of some mortgage thing. It's all, like, really bad luck stuff. So they don't actually, like, eat you or anything. They just bring really bad luck upon you, I think. So, you know, I mean, the moral of the story is, if anyone comes to your door and has no, like, whites of their eyes, don't let them in! I mean, I feel like I shouldn't have to tell you that. Anyway, guys, I hope you enjoyed this video. If you did enjoy this video, please make sure to like, comment, and subscribe. And for the rest of October, the video is going to be very similar to this, so I hope you enjoyed this. And I will see you guys next time.
Be careful of the children.
She held her... For some reason, when someone says accentless, I think of someone who is German. I don't know why.